Hey guys, this is Illusion PODFIC, and today we're going to be reading This Kind of Weather by r_Astra. This is Chapter 6. When he shows Stephanie his sketches before school the next morning, she immediately busts out laughing. You're such a fucking nerd, Jason Todd. Shut up, he says, shoving her lightly. It looks cool as shit and you know it. It does look pretty cool, Steph admits, but the name? Just because you don't read. Steph shows him in a mock offense, and he shoves her back, snatching the sketchbook in the process. Come on, Steph says, we're gonna be late. She's right, but Jason's eyes linger on the sketch for a moment anyway, thumb tracing the name scribbled onto the top. Nevermore. Stop grinning, you dork. Jason shoves her again, but closes the sketchbook and follows her inside. It's dumb, probably. It's not like he even really wants to be a vigilante. He's too busy for that shit. But there was a time, he knows, that he would have leapt at the chance. A time where his tiny, malnourished body was so full of righteous fury at the world, he vibrated with it. A time he would have loved to bleed some of the anger out with swinging fists and aching knuckles. A time when he ambushed a guy in the dark alley and beat him into a coma. He doesn't feel bad about that exactly. The guy had it coming. But when he went home after, his mom was still an addict and their cupboards were still empty. The next morning, he walked the unchanged halls of Aubrey Jane High, drafty and cold, with lead paint slowly chipping off the walls and the window sills. After a few months later, the dealer was back out on the streets, like nothing had happened. Now, they're repainting Aubrey James on the weekend and planning to remove the asbestos over the summer. Jason met with the legal team last week to discuss foster care reform. The Wayne Foundation is launching an in-depth investigation into all shelters and rehab centers they support. Commissioner Gordon announced a zero-tolerance policy on missing body cam footage from the GCPD officers. Whatever good Nevermore might do kicking ass and taking names, he's pretty sure Jason Wayne can do more with a pen when it bruises blackguards in a free afternoon. Which is, completely insane and a little terrifying, but he's got plenty of time to get used to it. Because he's a complete moron, though, Jason still spends the next few days planning how to sneak out of Wayne Manor. It's stupid. Really stupid. But he can't in good conscience go much further with the Wayne Foundation project without input from Mason and his band of street kids. And there's no way he's lying to Bruce again about why he has to stay at Steph's. He starts by cracking his window occasionally to see if they're alarmed. And no one ever says anything or comes to check on them, so he figures it's fine. The other problem is cameras. He knows there are a couple on the grounds for surveillance, but he doesn't know them well enough to map a route. So he starts going for runs before school to familiarize himself. He's never run for anything other than gym class or his motherfucking life. And as it turns out, he fucking hates it. But by the end of the week, he's got a route he's pretty sure is safe. Steph solves the challenge of transportation from Bristol into the city proper by playing Frankenstein and cobbling together a bike out of the parts they found in dumpsters. She's proud as hell of it, and for good reason, but the thing is downright terrifying to ride at speed, shaking and rattling like a coffee can full of loose nails. She stashes the unholy contraption in the bushes at the edges of the ground after school, and Jason goes up to bed at a normal time, wedges the desk chair under the doorknob like always, leaves his lights on for a quarter of an hour or so for realism, then flips them off, climbs out his window, and starts zigzagging across the grounds, avoiding cameras and staying out of sight of critical windows. It takes a full half hour to make it to the bike, another 20 minutes to speed down the dark streets between the manor and the bridge into Gotham proper, and 45 minutes to weave through the late traffic to Steph's place. Finally, she says when he opens the door, let's get you suited up. They don't bother to put the new costume together all the way. Chances are, he's only going to use it once, so it doesn't really matter. The whole Raven motif is really coming through, Steph says, looking at his reflection critically. It's true. All they've got to mimic the oil slick reflection of actual raven feathers is a pair of reflective goggles they made in shop class, and the resemblance is minimal. The black looks cool, though, Jason says. Steph scoffs. You look like budget Batman. Staring at the mirror, Jason narrows his eyes, considering. It does kind of look like budget Batman, but he's not really sure he minds. Batman is Batman. But he's not as bad as Jason, though. Maybe. And maybe it's just coincidence, but he really does seem to be taking it easy on the low-level thugs and shit. Maybe he really didn't know any better. Anyway, the all-black really does look cool. Even better with the hood and scarf instead of those dumbass ears. You need, a bird design or something, Steph says, like Nightwing's. I'm not painting a bird on my chest. Jesus, it looked like a kindergartner's art project. Come on, man, don't put yourself down like that. Your sketches are at least second grade worthy. Laughing, Jason shoves her again. Jesus, let's just go. If we wait much longer, I'm gonna have to sneak out again. She sits up fast, and they both pocket the burner phones they bought with cash the week before. Paranoid about tracking software, Jason didn't even bring his phone into the city. is currently sitting plugged in on his bedside table, like it does every other night. Steph leads the run across the rooftops with a level of reckless abandon that only confirms Jason's previous conclusions about her sanity, but they make it to the location Mason gave Steph alive. It's a warehouse, relatively small, seemingly abandoned. Not bad, kiddos. Jason and Steph perch under the sill of the window on the upper levels, and Steph whistles out a 3-note melody. A moment later, Mason opens the window. "Hey, kiddo," Steph says, ruffling his hair. Mason smacks her hand, scowling. Eyeing Jason, he says, "New look?" The red clashed with my skin tone. The kid huffs, rolling his eyes. "Come on," he says. "Everyone's downstairs." The three of them descend to the warehouse floor, then Mason leads them to an office in the back corner, small and dusty. When he knocks rhythmically on a center of the floor that looks identical to the rest, only for it to swing upward, Jason whistles, low and impressed. "Hell of a hidey hole," he says. Mason tosses him a quick grin, then disappears into the dark. "Ladies first," Steph says, making a sweeping gesture. Behind the goggles, Jason rolls his eyes, then drops into the basement. Almost immediately, there are skinny arms wrapped around him in a hug. He smiles. "Hey, Rocco." "Hey," the kid says, grinning, and pulls him away from the entrance. Steph's boots thump down behind him, and Jason takes a moment to look around the area, waving cautiously at the little faces hiding behind older kids' legs or peering out from under blankets. Their thin, dirty faces and wary eyes stab at Jason somehow, a blade slicing somewhere deep and half-forgotten inside. But they've got a good setup. The kids have a sleeping area in the corner, some old couch cushions and pillows layered over the concrete floor, and covered in blankets that have definitely seen better days, but aren't so threadbare they won't provide warmth. There's a collection of food in another corner, cans mostly, and some other shelf-stable stuff that Steph tries to get for them. It's dry and about as warm as it's possible to keep an unheated place this time of year. "Nice," Jason says, nodding. Mason puffs up a little with pride. "It's alright, yeah." Jason huffs, shoving the kid lightly. "It's fantastic. Jesus, I would have killed for a setup like this." It's hard to say that the kid's blushing in the dim light of the few electric lanterns hanging from the low ceiling, but Jason's pretty sure he is. "What do you want to talk about anyway?" the kid says, a little flustered. "Is everyone here?" Jason asks. Mason's eyes dart around the room, counting. "Yeah," he says. "Good." Jason says and swings the backpack he carried all the way from Wayne Manor down into the floor. He follows it down, sitting crisscross like a kindergartner, unzips the thing, and pulls out the giant thermos of hot cocoa and dozens of cookies he had made with Alfred the day before, for his study group. "You guys got cups?" he asks. They do, and Mason quickly scrambles to get them as all the others scramble to form a circle. There aren't enough cups for everyone, but that's okay. They're all used to sharing. Jason fills the first cup carefully, pulls down the scarf and takes a sip, then passes it to Rocco on his right. The cup moves around the circle sip by sip as Jason fills the next one, and the next one, until the first one comes back empty and he fills that one too. Steph passes out the cookies, which are a little lumpy and probably not as good as if Alfred had made them on his own, but the kids seem to like them fine. Once the thermos is empty, Jason starts. "Winter is coming," he says grimly, then has to stop to look at Steph, who's got one hand over her mouth. "What?" "Nothing," she says. She's trying not to laugh? "Nothing. Sorry, keep going." Jason squints at her for a second, but lets it go. Just Steph being Steph, probably. "Winter is coming," he says again, "and it's coming fast. You guys have a really good place here, don't get me wrong. You're doing way better than I was when I was your age, but if it gets cold, really cold, you're gonna be in trouble." He looks around the circle of faces, but doesn't find surprise. They all know. "We've got a friend," he says. "He's working with the Wayne Foundation on a project to help you guys, but he needs to know a couple of things to do that. You guys don't have to tell us anything if you don't want to. Helping or not helping, that's not going to change anything, okay? We're still going to bring you supplies whenever we can, and we're still going to try to make this project work, no matter what. But the more we know, the more we understand, the more we can help, yeah?" Slowly the kids start to nod. "What do you want to know?" Mason asks, a little suspicious. "Well, first," Jason says, "why each of you specifically are on the streets. Whether you have family, and whether they're trustworthy if you have them. Anybody whose asshole family members have custody over them. We want to know about that. Our friend is going to work with Commissioner Gordon to get custody taken away and given to somebody decent if that's an option. And if it's not," one of the girls asks from across the circle. "If it's not, we're making another option. Our friend is working on getting a children's home up and running." The murmuring starts up immediately. Angry, distrusting, annoyed. "A safe one," Jason stresses. "I know that's hard to believe, but Spoiler and I will personally guarantee it. And trust me, we'll be checking in. And it'll have food," Steph adds, "and heat. And you guys can go back to school. We won't split you up," Jason reassures them. "We won't force anyone to go who doesn't want to. And hell, if we're wrong, and it ends up going south, We'll plan the escape ourselves and get everyone the fuck out of there ASAP. The murmuring hasn't quieted down, but it turned more considering than condemning, and that's more than he was expecting. We're not asking anybody to decide tonight, Jason says. We just want to keep you guys in the loop and get an idea of what we're working with on the legal side. How many of you need the commissioner's help? There's a moment of silence, and the little boy, no older than 7, says quietly, My dad hits me, but nothing ever happens, 'cause he's a cop. Fuck cops, Jason says, flipping open the notebook he brought with him. What's his name, little man? Tony, the guy says. Tony Amendola. Got it. He's never gonna hurt you again, okay? I promise. The kid nods once, shy. He's got a scar across his cheek that matches the curve of a broken bottle. It makes Jason's blood boil. Another kid speaks up after that, and then another, and another, and another. Some of their parents are cops, or half friends who are. Some of them were just smart about hitting them where it wasn't obvious. The worst ones were the fucking non-consensual child huggers. Jason writes down the names one by one, noting anything useful, dates of injury, potential witnesses, reports that were made or should have been. By the time they're done, the littlest of the kids are sleeping in a puppy pile on the cushions in the corner. Rocco gives Jason another hug, and then Mason shows them out. You really think it'll be safe? Mason asks quietly. Yeah, kid, Steph says, crouching down to look him in the eye. We're gonna make sure it is, okay? He doesn't really look like he believes her. Not yet, but that's okay. These things take time. Stay safe, kid, Jason says, then ducks out the window and into the night. They make their way back towards Steph's in silence. When they're a few blocks away, Jason stops. I'm gonna stay out for a minute, he says. Clear my head a bit. Steph eyes him for a minute, creeping him out a little with that expressionless mask. It's good talking to the kids, but it's hard. I won't be long, he says. I just need a minute. Okay, she says. I'm coming looking for you if you're not back in half an hour, though. Yeah. Steph throws him the middle finger, then launches herself over the gap to the next roof. Jason watches for a minute, then turns to look out at the skyline, only to flinch back in surprise. So, Robin says, standing right next to him. You've met Spoiler. Whipping his head around in search of Batman's pointy-eared silhouette of doom, Jason slips on a loose patch of gravel and falls right on his ass. Robin, the little asshole, laughs. Shut the fuck up, Jason snaps, scrambling back upright. Robin holds his hands up in the universal sign of surrender. Easy, big guy, he says. I just want to talk. Jason huffs. Yeah, right. Really? Come on, I got you that body armor, didn't I? I'll come in peace. Well, it was a pretty good peace offering. Hesitantly, Jason says, What do you want to talk about? Robin grins, sitting down on the edge of the building, and pats the spot next to him. Nuh-uh. Nope. No fucking way. Jason crosses his arms over his chest. I don't like heights. Robin laughs again, more surprised than mean. Dude, he says, are you serious? Jason glares at him. The kid hops down into the fire escape and sits there instead. Better? Yeah, whatever. Robin grins. Thanks. Jason grumbles as he sits down. For the armor, I mean. And the other stuff. You're welcome. I see you've made some upgrades. Those goggles are sick. Fuck yeah, they are. Jason spent an embarrassing amount of time watching the way they flash and glint, reflecting an eerie, almost iridescent green. You pick a new name then? Yeah, Jason says. I didn't really know about the whole, I never would have. Robin waves him off. You're good. Most people don't. What's the new name? Jason stalls, suddenly a little embarrassed. Nevermore. From the poem. Robin stares at him blankly. What this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore? Jason quotes. Mint and croaking, nevermore? Still nothing. Jason huffs, shaking his head. Edgar Allan Poe? The Raven? Come on, kid. Sorry, never heard of it. It's the name of the raven in the poem. Jason explains. Well, sort of. It's a little more complicated than... It's a good name. Robin interrupts, sounding a little desperate. Great name, good motif. Ravens are good. Big, scary, ominous. It's good. Jason stares at him for a minute, then huffs again, shaking his head. It's a good poem. I'll take your word for it. Come on, who doesn't like Poe? So you need some more iridescent black then? I'll try to get the cape to look. Jason shakes his head. Nah, kid, don't bother. This is only a temp thing. You say that now. No, really, Jason says, shaking his head. Just gotta see this one thing through, then I'm done. Robin cocks his head, watching him. The kids? Jason nods tightly. It's getting cold. Too cold. I can help you bring them in if... Jason stands up, already reaching for the handhold to swing back onto the roof. Sorry, that's not... I was just trying to be helpful, okay? After searching the kid's face for a few beats, Jason huffs and sits back down. I'm not bringing them in, he says angrily. Jesus, what the fuck is wrong with you? Robin watches him for a minute, looking unsure. The cops will either send them back to their fucking abusers or into the fucking system, you little shit. Another moment of silence. There are good foster parents out. Not for these kids, Jason says sharply. Most of them have records, and the rest of them are from here. He gestures to the filthy area below them, strewn with dirty needles and used condoms. The groups home in the city are fucking hellholes, and that's the only place they'll ever take us. Them. He meant to say them. Sorry, Robin says. I didn't realize it was that bad. There's a long pregnant pause, and then, my parents didn't want me, the kid says quietly. They wanted the idea of me, I guess, like a pet. Something to show off. I don't know. Turns out kids are a little more difficult than golden retrievers, though, so they got rid of me as soon as they could. I'm sorry, Jason says honestly. That sucks. Robin shrugs. It's okay. I got lucky, I guess. I'm better off now. Robin shrugs. It's okay. I got lucky, I guess. I'm better off now. Still sucks, though, Jason says quietly. Yeah. Jason swallows. I was in a group home for a while when I was a kid. Robin doesn't say anything, but he makes an encouraging sort of sound. The sound dies. Jason tries again. The guy running it, he would lock the food up between meals so we couldn't get it. It wasn't that big of a deal, really, but it seemed like it was at the time, and Jason shakes his head. He caught me breaking into the pantry one night. Probably could have gotten out of it with the black eye, but I was stupid, got too mouthy. He, stabbed me with the kitchen shears. Shit, Robin blurts out. Are you okay? Jason laughs a little humorless and gestures down to himself. Survived, didn't I? Yeah, Robin says, voice small. Yeah, but you didn't deserve that. Jason hums noncommittally. He knows. He does. It's just hard to see it as a big deal sometimes. You got out easy. One of the older kids found me in the morning, called 911. I think they figured it out at the hospital, of course. I think the fucker went to jail over it, but I didn't stick around to find out. Trying to make it on my own seemed safer after that? Probably was. Are you safe now? Robin asks quietly. Do you have somewhere safe? Yeah, Jason says. Yeah, I'm good now. I gotta go back to my mom after a while, and I haven't been in the system since. Good. That's good. Yeah, but most kids don't have anyone to go back to, Jason says. Their parents are dead, or they're safer on the streets than at home. You can't just turn them over to the cops and expect everything to work out. What can we do then? Jason stills. What can we do? Jason pulls out the notebook full of names he'd written down with a solid plan of how he was going to explain where he got them. Robin wouldn't have to explain where he'd gotten them. You've got resources, yeah? Jason says, showing Robin the notebook. You can look into this. Robin's expression is grim as his eyes scan the page. Yeah, he says. I'll take care of it. I promise. Jason wakes up the next morning with a spring in his step, despite barely getting any sleep. It's a good day. The kids are safer in their hideout for now, and hopefully will be safer now that Robin has a copy of that list. Jason might not always be sure how he feels about Batman, but Robin is Robin. Childish as it may be, Jason is having a hard time treating a promise from him as written in anything other than stone. You're looking chipper today, Master Jason, Alfred says, filling Jason's teacup. He just shrugs, smiling. Got a feeling it's going to be a good day. Bruce hums as he shuffles through the doorway, ruffling Jason's hair before dropping into his own seat across the table. As always, he's mostly asleep until Alfred brings him a cup of coffee. Even then, Jason has to poke him with his spoon a couple times to prevent him from falling asleep in his eggs. Come on, old man, Jason complains. If you fall asleep, I'll be late for school. Bruce grunts, but seems to make a little more effort to stay awake. Any plans today? Jason shrugs. Not really. Just gonna get some SAT prep after school. How's that going? Good, I guess. I'm getting happier with my practice scores, but on the actual test day, the environment's different, and I keep missing questions in the math. Bruce reaches over the table, putting a hand over Jason's gently. We've got plenty of time, Jason. If you're not happy with the first score, you can just take it again in the fall. Like you planned, right? Right, Jason says, then takes a slow, deep breath. Right, yeah. Thanks. Of course. Bruce squeezes his hand once, then lets go to take a sip of coffee. I was thinking, he says slowly, we could go to the courthouse after school sometime this week, if there's a day that works better for you. Jason frowns a little confused. The courthouse? Bruce's gaze shifts a little, in the way Jason is pretty sure means he's nervous. For the paperwork. Oh. For my name? Jason says, just to make sure. Bruce nods. Geez, that was fast. We can go on Thursday. Nope, wait. I've got tutoring. Friday? Shoulders shifting and probably relieved. Bruce smiles and says, Friday. I'll make the appointment. When they get to school, Steph is waiting in the drop-off area looking at her phone. Good morning, Stephanie, Bruce says, leaning over to see past Jason as he gets out. Hey, Brucey, how's it hanging? It's hanging, well, dear God. Ignore her, Jason tells him. The poor guy still looks confused as hell, but he nods. What time should I pick you up? Jason gives him a time and says, thanks. Bruce's expression softens, eyes going all sappy. Of course, Jason, he says quiet so Steph can't hear. Anytime. Have a good day. Feeling awkward, Jason shifts, rolling his eyes a little. Yeah, I'll try. Bye, Bruce. Goodbye, Jason, Bruce says, and just as Jason swings the door closed, adds, love you. Jason nods awkwardly, then turns to walk quickly over to Steph. Looking up from her phone as he approaches, Steph says bluntly, why are you blushing? What? Jason says, no, I'm not. You totally are. Steph insists, putting her phone away altogether. What'd he say? Nothing. Definitely not nothing. He shoves past her wordlessly, heading for the entrance, but she catches up quick. Geez, sorry. Didn't realize it was top secret. Yeah, whatever, Jason grumbles, then relents. Sorry, he's just... I don't know what to do with the shit he says sometimes. He's just very affectionate. He half expected Steph to coo at him or something equally as shitty, but instead she's quiet for a long moment. Finally she says, that's good, Jay. I get why it's weird. Bruce is a good guy, and you deserve a parent who's there for you. Like, emotionally. I'm really happy for you. Jesus. After a moment he shows so their shoulders knock together lightly and mutters, unable to meet her eyes. Thanks. Yeah, no problem, Steph says, then clears her throat as they reach the point in the hallway where their paths to first period diverge. See you at lunch? Lunch? Yeah, Jason says, and walks the rest of the way to his classroom alone. Steph has to work that afternoon, and he doesn't have tutoring, so Bruce picks him up right after school. After a few minutes into the drive, Bruce says suddenly, do you want ice cream? Jason stares at him for a second, processing, and then says, right now? Yes, if you want. Jason says, sure. Bruce nods awkwardly. In a few blocks, he turns off their usual path home. The ice cream shop, when they get there, looks bougie as hell. But they have all the regular flavors alongside the weird ones, so Jason doesn't have too much trouble ordering. Do you mind if we sit? Nah, Jason says, I'm not rushing. Bruce, as always, picks up a table in the back corner and takes the chair with the best sightlines. Jason, left with the second best option, takes it without complaint. He'd always thought he was neurotic about that kind of thing, but Bruce is kind of next level. Anyway, the resulting seating arrangement puts them at a 90-degree angle at each other, which is generally less awkward, so it all works out. Bruce, being Bruce, immediately ruins the less awkward vibe they've got going on, and before even taking a bite of his honey lavender goat cheese monstrosities, says, I'm sorry if I startled you this morning. Jesus Christ. Mouthful of Neapolitan, Jason is forced to let the silence stretch awkwardly for a beat. You're good, he says finally, which does not make things less painful. Bruce frowns, thinking visibly over a few bites of ice cream. If you're not comfortable, he starts, you can tell me. I can... Really, Bruce, Jason cuts him off. It's fine. He takes a second, swirling the slowly melting flavors together a little in his cup. It's kind of a lot, yeah, Jason says, deciding to shoot for honest, even if it's weird. But I don't mind. All right, Bruce says, slow and quiet, and obviously giving Jason room to talk more if he wants to. He has no fucking clue if he wants to, but it looks like he's going to anyway. It's not like I'm buying into the men can't talk about feelings bullshit, okay? It's nice, okay? You can say it as much as you want. I just never really... he huffs, frustrated. But Bruce just says, take your time, Jay. There's no rush. Fuck you, Jason says automatically. But then, sorry. You're forgiven, Bruce answers promptly. Jesus. But Jason just takes a deep breath, trying to find the words. I guess not a lot of the men I've known have been, nice to me, he says finally. Jesus, I sound pathetic. But Bruce makes a low, dissenting noise, hands shifting, as if he wanted to hold Jason's like he did at breakfast. It's not pathetic, he says quietly, seriously. Jason, you're not pathetic. It's perfectly understandable. I'm sure there's a lot I don't know, but from what you've told me, it seems like the adults who should have supported you emotionally haven't always. Despite the fact that it's really not funny. Jason laughs a little. Yeah, that's one way to put it. They just eat their ice cream for a couple minutes, and then Bruce says, I've gotten better in the last couple years, but it's something I have a hard time with also, talking about things. Jason laughs with some actual humor. Yeah, funnily enough, I noticed that. Bruce elbows him lightly, smiling his not smile. After a minute, Jason says, do you want to try some Neapolitan? Bruce blinks. Sure. Swap? They swap ice creams, and Jason's surprised to find the bougie crop is actually pretty good. Not as good as, regular ice cream, but decent. To Bruce, he says, just as he takes a bite, tastes just like a petting zoo. Bruce chokes, inhaling enough that he's gotta have Neapolitan in his fucking sinuses. Laughing, Jason shoves some napkins the poor guy's way. Bruce finally finishes coughing up ice cream and wrinkles his nose in discomfort, then pulls out his phone. I'm calling Alfred. Jason laughs even harder. He'll make so much fun of you, he manages to get out. He will not, Bruce denies. He'll make you apologize. No way. Alfred must pick up then, because Bruce's expression changes to grumpy. No, it's not urgent. A pause. All right, drive safe. He puts the phone down. He couldn't talk. Jason says, like a little shit. Sure. Bruce elbows him lightly. He's picking up Tim. Yeah, whatever, old man. Jason relents, swapping their cups back. Take your weird goat shit back. I don't want it. Bruce actually pouts, like he did on TV. But Jay, it's organic. Jason elbows him for real. Stop that. Oh my god. Now Bruce is the one laughing. Jesus, never do that in front of me again. Oh my god. Bruce, still fucking cackling, crosses his heart and blows Jason a kiss. Oh my god. Jason repeats, aghast, burying his head in his hands. Now I know where Dick's coming from with the mental bleach thing. Still laughing, Bruce ruffles Jason's hair. Love you, Jay, he says. Yeah, Jason grumbles. You too, you fucking weirdo. Hey, Jay. Jason jerks his head up from his SAT prep book, startled enough to pull his feet off the library coffee table and stand halfway up from the couch before he realizes it's just Tim. Sorry, the kid winces visibly, hands palm out and everything. Shit. You're fine, Timbo, what's up? Oh, Tim says, dropping his hands awkwardly. Well, if you're not busy, Connor and I were gonna go grab milkshakes with our friend Cassie. Do you want to come? Yeah, I'm down, he says. I'm pretty much done for the night anyway. He's been studying pretty much since he got home, only stopping to go downstairs for dinner. His brain probably needs a break. Tim grins. Awesome. Meet downstairs in 15? Sure, Jason says. Sounds good. In his room, he throws his leather jacket on over the hoodie he's already wearing, checks to make sure his phone is actually in his pocket instead of in the library, then heads downstairs. Hey, Jason, Connor Kent says when he reaches the foyer, smiling his crooked, very white smile. What's up? Hey, Connor, not much. You? The kid shrugs, and something about his posture seems off to Jason, suddenly kind of defeated. Oh, you know, he says, still grinning. Surviving. Jason frowns. You good, kid? Oh, so the seeing right through you thing. That's genetic too, Connor says, half laughing. I'm okay, just having some dad trouble. Thanks for asking, though. Yeah, Jason says, of course. After a minute, he adds, you have a fight with Clark or something? Surprised, Connor laughs for real this time. No, my other dad, he says, like it's a joke, but not? Not like he's making fun of Jason for asking anyway. Jason frowns harder. Sorry, Connor says, inside joke. I forgot everybody doesn't just... He shakes his head, smiling again. Clark acts like he's my dad sometimes, but he's technically my cousin, except his parents took me in a couple years ago, so he's kind of my brother? Connor scratches the back of his head sheepishly. It's complicated. Oh, Jason says, that's cool? Connor shrugs again, still smiling. It is what it is. The dad troubles are with Lex. He tries, but he had a pretty messed up childhood, so he's kind of a major asshole sometimes. Plus, he's, you know, an evil billionaire literally trying to take over the world half the time, so... Right. Lex. As in Lex Luthor. Yeah, Jason says, a little wide-eyed. That's, I can see how that'd be hard. The kid is still fucking smiling. Kinda sad around the eyes, yeah, and a little bitter, but Jason is pretty sure he wildly misjudged this kid on their first meeting. He'd pegged him as a shallow fuckboy, to be perfectly honest, and right then, that just seems a little unfair. Tim takes one look at his friend's face as he comes down the stairs and scowls. Con, stop thinking about your asshole father. I'm not, Connor says, the bitterness disappearing from his smile as soon as his gaze lands on Tim. Yes, you are. I can tell, Tim insists. I just had you successfully distracted. Think happy thoughts. Sunshine, rainbows, crypto. Tim laughs loud and bright, throwing an arm around Tim's smaller shoulders. Relax, Tim. I was just filling Jason in on my tragic backstory. Tim narrows his eyes, glancing between Jason and Connor. Did you tell him about the pod? He whispers, not near quiet enough. The pod, Jason says, baffled. Connor rolls his eyes. Not that tragic backstory, Tim. Come on, he's gotta buy me dinner first. And the kid fucking winks at Jason. What the fuck? Luckily, Jason's saved from responding by Tim punching the other boy in the ribs. Don't flirt with him, Tim complains. You said you'd be cool. I'm always cool, Connor says, and fucking winks at Jason again. Tim opens his mouth, but the front door opens before he can say anything. The girl in the doorway is blonde, beautiful, and absolutely jacked. Kent! She yells, grinning, and sweeps the kid into a hug that actually lifts him off his feet. Just for a second, but goddamn. Laughing, Connor lifts her off her own feet for a bit before dropping her down. Hey there, short stuff, she says, sliding an arm around Tim's shoulders, dragging him into her side, and not even flinching when he slugs her in her ribs. Almost didn't see you there. Tim just rolls his eyes. Cassie, this is Jason, he says from his spot pinned to the girl's side. Jason. Cassie Sandsmark. Cassie's grin is sharp enough to cut glass. Hey there, she says, gaze dragging down from Jason's eyes to his mouth too. Absolutely not, Tim squawks, showing himself in front of Jason, trying to block him from view. Cassie peers over his shoulder easily, still grinning. You're cute. Thanks, Jason says. You're terrifying. She throws her head back and laughs. Come on, Cassie, Connor says playfully. Stop traumatizing our fearless leader. I'm starving. Alright, let's go. The four of them pile into Cassie's car, Jason taking the front to let Connor and Tim do their Connor and Tim thing in the back. Where are we going? Jason asks as they go through the first gate and onto the private road leading deeper into the city. Cassie shrugs. Wherever there are milkshakes. Batburger, Connor says, leaning forward over the center console. And not the Bristol one. That one doesn't count. Jason laughs, knowing exactly what he meant. The further out of the city you get, the less health code violations the Batburger locations have. You'd think that'd make the food better, but it doesn't. Stuff's working tonight, he says. We could visit. Sure, Tim agrees. Cool. Turning to Cassie, he adds, it's the one on 14th. You'll have to direct me, she says. I'm not exactly a local. No problem. Take the next left. Jason directs them from the KMB and into the city, cutting north through the better part of the Narrows to avoid the worst of the alley. Then has Cassie turn right onto 14th and park a couple blocks down. Hey, JP, one of the working girls on the corner calls out. Who's that you're with? My baby brother, Jason calls back, laughing. So hands off. A group of women all coo, even though some of them are only a couple years older than Jason. One of them yells, how about the other one? No deal, Jason yells back, tossing a grand Connor's way. Future in-law. Another round of cooing ensues and somebody wolf whistles. Connor is bright red. Cassie is cackling. Oh, leave the poor boys alone, Eliza says, pushing her way through the loose crowd and heading for Jason. Let me look at you, she demands, holding him by the shoulders. In her heels, she's got a whole inch on him. They're feeding you enough in the big house, mijo? Yeah, Jason says, a little embarrassed. I'm eating plenty. Good, she says, patting his cheek before turning to Tim. You're taking good care of our Jason, Mr. Wayne? Still blushing, Tim nods earnestly. Yes, ma'am. Good boy, she says, patting Tim's cheek too. We're heading to Batburger, Jason says. Can you keep an eye on our car? Of course. She kisses Jason's forehead and then waves him off. Now go. You're bad for business. Jason rolls his eyes, but heads towards the Batburger with one last wave towards the corner. Come back soon, Jay. Look at that view. Laughing as a couple more wolf whistles followed them down the streets, Jason knocks shoulders with Tim. Looking a bit pink there, Timbit. Tim elbows him, muttering something unintelligible under his breath. Oh, go be a Puritan back there with Con, Cassie says, taking Tim's place next to Jason on the sidewalk. I have so many questions. JP? Jason Peter. E and I used to be neighbors, and no, she and the other girls won't let your car get jacked. I was more interested in why you're bad for business, actually. Oh, Jason says, genuinely surprised. Well, I guess I've got a bit of a reputation. A reputation for... Jason shrugs awkwardly, hands shoved into pockets of his jacket, hitting assholes messing with the working girls with baseball bats. Only happened twice, but I guess twice is enough. Grinning, Cassie slides an arm over his shoulder. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Jason laughs, pushes her off, and holds open the Batburger door for the whole group to file in. Hey, Mal, he says as they walk up to the counter. How's the little guy? Doing good, Malik says, already pulling out his phone. Sleeping better, you want to see a pic? Of course, man. The place is almost empty, and the others are still looking at the menu, so Jason hops up on the counter next to Mal's register. The picture is of Mel's newborn son in his girlfriend's arms, staring up at the camera with the most adorably confused look on his face. "Aw, little man," Jason laughs. "I feel you." Mel lets them swipe through a few more photos as Tim and his friends decide, and then takes their orders. "Chocolate shake and medium fry, right, Jay?" Mel says once they're all ordered, looking to Jason for confirmation. "That's me." "Got it," Mel says. "Steph's on drive-thru. I'll swap with her so she can hang out." "Thanks, man." "No worries, Jay." "Geez, do you know everyone in this part of town?" Cassie says once Mel steps into the back. Jason shrugs. "I mean, pretty much, yeah." "Jaybird," Kathy half sings, hopping up to the counter and tackling him in a hug. "And baby Wayne! And friends!" "Jesus, Steph," Jason complains, prying her off his neck. "You're trying to strangle me?" "How you doing, medium, Kent?" "And how are you doing, hot blonde I haven't met yet?" "Medium, Kent," Connor repeats, looking like he's not sure how he feels about that. "Better now that I've met you, babe," Cassie says. Tim groans. "God, we're going to regret introducing them, aren't we?" Jason just laughs. The rest of the week passes quickly, and soon enough it's Friday afternoon, and Bruce is picking him up from the school as usual, except Tim and Dick are also in the car. "Surprise!" Dick says, leaping out of the car to tackle Jason in a hug. Tim climbs out of the back seat, rolling his eyes a little, but when he locks eyes with Jason, his expression softens. "We thought it could be an all the Waynes sort of outing." "We wouldn't miss it for the world, Jay," Dick says, finally releasing him. Ducking his head a little, Jason says, "Fucking saps." "Well, yeah," Tim says. "Plus, Alfred is making a cake, so." Dick just grins, ruffling his hair. "Get in the car, kiddo. Be as antsy about being late." "I'm not antsy," Bruce grumbles as Tim and Jason slide into the back seat. "I just want to make sure," Dick laughs. "Just drive, B. We know you want to." Bruce drives. At the courthouse, Bruce and Jason are ushered into an office to sign paperwork while Dick and Tim are left in the waiting room. "You're sure?" Bruce asks. "Just once," voice quiet. "I'm sure," Jason confirms and signs the papers. On the way home, as Dick sings along obnoxiously loud to every song on the radio, Jason can't stop smiling. He texts Steph, "Officially, Jason Peter Wayne." She sends back her congratulations and something about a cake, even though he already told her Alfred is making one. And then they park, and Jason gets distracted by some kind of spat that's breaking out between Dick and Bruce. What's that supposed to mean? Bruce is grumbling as they got out of the car. "Hands up," Dick says. "I'm just saying, you're not as young as you once were." "Neither are you," Bruce retorts. Climbing the stairs backwards to continue the argument, Dick says, "I'm not middle-aged." "I'm not either, Dick," Bruce says, nearly growling. Dick grins widely. "Prove it." Bruce moves, but Dick is already gone, flipping neatly up the last steps and laughing. "Too slow, old man," he taunts. And then Bruce is up the last few steps, too, and Dick's racing around the corner, slipping out of sight, and then crash! "If that was another priceless antique, Master Bruce, so help me!" Alfred yells from the kitchen. "Come on," Tim says, starting to jog towards the foyer. "I've got money on how Bruce is going to try to get him down from the chandelier this time." "Get him down from the what?" Jason follows, disbelieving. Sure enough, though, by the time they get to the foyer, Dick is perched up in the giant chandelier, taunting Bruce to come up and get him. Bruce is glaring up at him like a dog under a treed cat. "Come on, Bruce," Dick calls down, teasing. "Afraid of heights?" Bruce narrows his eyes, then backs up a few paces. "Shit," Tim spurs, delighted. "I owe Alfred $50. You bet on this with Alf?" Bruce covers the length of the foyer in an instant, launching himself off the floor and onto the banister, then straight out into the open air before kicking off on top of the door frame, at least 12 feet above the floor, and launching himself straight at the chandelier. "Fuck!" Jason swears, flinching back, sure that 2 grown men and several hundred pounds of glass are about to crash to the floor. Instead, Bruce sets the whole chandelier swinging, and Dick, laughing like an actual crazy person, what is wrong with him, leaps out into the open air. Bruce is right on his heels, and still 10 feet in the air, he tackles Dick bodily, tucking his smaller son's frame against his chest before hitting the ground, rolling and popping up to his feet, grinning, a pouting Dick slung over his shoulder. "Caught you," he says as he puts Dick down, smug. Jason stares. Above them, countless crystals knock against each other, tinkling like 1,000 wind chimes. "Fuck," he says, locking eyes with Bruce. "You're Batman." Everyone freezes. Bruce's face goes perfectly blank, and there's a single moment where Jason thinks he's going to deny it, and then, oh thank God, Dick Nightwing, Jesus, Dick must be Nightwing, says, I thought for sure I was going to be the one who gave it away. Tim, Jesus Christ, the little twerp is Robin, knocks shoulders with Jason in a friendly sort of way, shooting him a relieved grin. Great timing, Jay. I was starting to get really worried about. Boys, Alfred says from the doorway, why don't we give Master Jason a moment of privacy with your father? And then it's just Tim and Bruce standing in perfect silence. Even the chandelier has stopped rattling. I'm sorry, Bruce. Batman, says eventually. Jason swallows, then shrugs a little. Bruce pauses in that way of his, choosing his words carefully, then says, I should have told you. Yeah, he should have. I wanted to, Bruce says. But it was... You had a lot on your plate those first few days, and then the funeral, Jason realizes. The funeral where he basically told Bruce to give Batman a big fuck you the next time he saw him. I thought you'd be disappointed, Bruce says quietly, if you knew. He means he thought Jason would fucking hate him for it, going by the look in his eyes. Jason shakes his head slowly. You're still trying to help people, just in more ways than I thought. I'm not disappointed. Jesus. Hasn't he, saved the world? I've made mistakes, Bruce says. Who hasn't? It's alright if you're upset with me. I understand. Jason huffs a little irritated. I'm not upset, you dumbass. I'm trying to tell you I forgive you. I get why you didn't tell me. You should have, but I get it. Bruce stares at him blankly. And yeah, I had some problems with Batman, Jason continues, because he apparently has to spell everything out in neon. What I said about the injuries and shit, that was true. Until I told you, fucking threw it in your face, and you didn't get mad or defensive, you just fucking fixed it. I didn't even have to ask you. Jason cuts himself off, shaking his head a little in disbelief. You just listened to me. Did he even question it? Did he even check the hospital records to see if I was lying or exaggerating or fucking stupid? Or did you just start working on that healthcare proposal on nothing but my word? It's not the sort of thing we have good statistics on, Bruce says. And of course I didn't think any of those things, Jason. Of course not. Of course not. Of course not, he says. Jason closes his eyes for a second, throat working. After a minute he says, voice low, do you know how many people listened to a goddamn word I said before my mom died? You know how many people would have had my back like that? Bruce looks like he's about to cry. None, Bruce. None. So no, I'm not fucking disappointed. Jason blinks back the growing heat behind his eyes. My dad is fucking Batman, and he is helping people as best as he knows how. And when I told him he was fucking up in a super hurtful fucking way, straight to his face, he fixed it and then apologized to me for it. So yes, I forgive you, you dumbass. Bruce makes it sound like a wounded cat, reaching out towards Jason before hesitating. Come here, old man, Jason says a little gruffly, holding his arms out a little, and Bruce promptly pulls him into a tight hug. Jason doesn't pull away for a long few minutes. Come on, he says when he finally does, turning to head in the same direction Alfred took Dick and Tim. I need to make fun of those idiots for how many times they slipped up. Bruce, Dick says, stopping them before they can get in the kitchen, pulling them into their living room instead. Good timing. Clark just, called and he... No more secrets, Bruce interrupts. Not among family. Good, Tim says, face stuck in his laptop. Because I have no idea how we were going to explain the whole your bio mom's an internationally acclaimed assassin thing. Did we have a plan for that? His mother is a what? He opens his mouth to express his bewilderment out loud, but then Superman is in their living room. For the record, he says, looking Jason dead in the eye. I've been pushing for him to tell you since day one. What the fuck? The alien frowns a little, then blinks. Oh shoot, sorry. And suddenly, it's not Superman standing in their kitchen, but Clark Kent, wearing a Superman costume. Holy shit. Jason exhales. Clark shoots him a friendly grin, then turns back to Bruce. I found Shiva. Who the fuck is Shiva? Hey Jason, Tim says. Do you know who Spoiler is? What? Jason frowns, looking away from Bruce and Clark. Oh, Steph? Yeah. Cool. You don't know who that other guy is, do you? Nevermore formerly known as Red Hood? Oh, Jason says, a little taken aback. So, funny story. What do you mean, Talia's son? Bruce's saying voice a little loud. I mean, Talia's son. Shiva says he's 8. Bruce pales. Oh dear Lord, B, Dick complains. Use protection. Didn't you have a vasectomy? Tim wonders aloud. Yeah, B. Didn't you? Clark asks. At Bruce's glare, he says, only a little sheepish. Anyway, Shiva's daughter is the bigger problem. Shiva's daughter? Tim says. How many kids do you two have together, B? Just Jason, Bruce insists. Just Jason. Hold up, Jason says. Are you saying I have a sister? A ninja sister, Clark agrees. Assassin? Clark. Bruce grunts. A ninja assassin sister. Clark decides. Whereabouts currently unknown. A missing ninja assassin sister. And a baby ninja assassin brother, Clark adds. Bruce's head is buried in his hands. Cal, he groans. What? It's Clark cuts himself off suddenly, eyes going unfocused as he cocks his head to one side. Oh, sorry, gotta run, he says. Seismic activity near Jakarta. Sounds like it's gonna be a big one. And he's gone. Jason says. Wow, okay. So, Timbers, does your boyfriend know he's related to Superman, or... Yeah, he knows, Tim says, not looking up from his computer. He's Clark's clone, so... He's Clark's what? B, Dick is saying. We can't leave that kid with the League. Well, Tim says, his half-clone technically. What the fuck is a half-clone? I know, Bruce responds. We can't help Shiva's daughter until we find her. But if we can help Talia's son now, we will. I'll prep the jet then, Dick says. Tim turns his attention to Dick. You sitting up? Yep, get your gear. Oh, Jason says. Mine's at Steph's. Every eye in the room lands on him at once. There's a tense moment of silence, and then... You're the Red Hood, Bruce sighs. Nevermore, Jason corrects defensive. We ditched that name. I didn't know it was an old Joker alias. Bruce gives him a look. But yeah, he admits. That's me. Bruce slaps a hand over his face, covering his eyes. One child. With a sense of self-preservation, he says, long-suffering. Just one. That's all I ask. Dick grins, slapping Bruce on the back on his way out of the room. Come on, old man. We're all just taking after you. Yeah, Bruce, Tim says, following the older boy out. Don't be such a hypocrite. Groaning, Bruce finally removes the hand from his face, staring balefully at Jason. If it helps, Jason says, Nevermore is not going to be an ongoing thing. I'll be way too busy at college. Whatever I want, remember? Bruce smiles a secret smile. Whatever you want. Jason grins. Alright guys, and that's the end of This Kind of Weather by r_Astra. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you in the next video.